for energy cleansing. Number one, you can see the cards in the sun.
Hello, I'm live. Hi, Larry Girl. Hi, Jules Theramore. Hi, Ann Rudd. Johnny should be joining us very, very soon as from Tarot's Apprentice, as will Adrian from Red Lentil Healing. Hi, Karen. We will be having another petty party on Saturday, the 19th, September 19th, at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard or Eastern Daylight Time. Johnny and Adrian and I will come on again to talk about, whatever we talk about, politics, pop culture, faith, whatever we desire to speak about, because the thing is, hi Becca from House of Lenormand. Hi Red Lentil Healing. Hi Johnny. Whatever we talk about, it's pretty fluid. But today I thought I'd come on at Larry's. Oh yeah, okay. Thank you, Larry girl. You can hear him. All right. Hi, Aria. Hi, Kimberly, Cat Lady, Karen Smith. Thank you so much for coming on over. I was just going to come on and make the short announcement that Adrian and Johnny and I are going to be throwing another petty party on September 19th, 2020 at 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And he suggested that I come on and spend a little bit more than maybe 8 minutes. So here I am for chit chat. I will actually be reading your comments so that if anyone has any questions, I'd be very happy to answer them if it's within my capacity. Someone wanted to know who am I and how did I begin doing this? And well, I began doing this because when Tallulah had her channel, she invited me to come on to discuss some very wonderful topics that, thank you, Karen. I'm sparing you makeup. I do have a red lip and you can't see that I don't have on a bra. Okay, ladies, I know you get it. That was how I first began coming on any kind of live. And there's where I met Adrian and Johnny, even though I've been watching their channels for quite a long time. My history is that I have been a singer and erstwhile actor all of my life. That's my passion. That's what I love. I've been blessed to travel the world with some iconic jazz and rock musicians. I love music of all kind, and once I can get the information I've been seeking, I will be uploading music that I like just to give us a little music interlude. I was born in Reno, Nevada. Yay, Reno! Thank you for not letting the toxic toupee come into town. I guess they stopped him and he had to do it at the airport until he found a location in Henderson, Nevada, which is a stone's throw from Las Vegas. We have to pray over his super spreader campaigns, because if I were to go into what I feel that could possibly be conspiracy theory sounding, is that you have these people who come in who, because they feel as if their freedom is somehow being compromised because they're asked to wear masks to protect themselves and us. These people show up shoulder to shoulder. Side note, a lot of them are bussed in. So if you start seeing faces that you recognize, well, that's because they do make sure that these children get their child. So then they're released. Then they go back into their communities, into their homes. And there you have it. This thing, which he has admittedly said is more dangerous than your most strenuous flu, which he has said is deadlier. It's in the air. He's releasing it in the air. And at some point, he's going to realize that by doing this, it's going to affect his voters as well. You can't think that these people are going to only kill Democrats. This is a dis-ease. And it doesn't care about your color, your gender, your sexual proclivity, your party. It doesn't care about any of that. It is a viral disease that looks for a host. And so we must pray over that, because I am a woman of faith, although I am imperfect, admittedly. I don't read the Bible as just a history book. I look at it from a metaphysical point of view, that there are mysteries, that there are messages and recipes and deeper knowledge that we can derive from it. And that by using those metaphysical thoughts and speech, we can truly bring about marvelous change. The one author that I truly love is Florence Scovel Shinn, who's written a book called Your Word is Your Wand. And what it essentially says is, what you speak into the universe is what will return to you. So let's make sure we're speaking beautiful things into the universe, even through what appears to be just massive chaos, even though many of us, including me, have grown weary with this boy. You know, just when we think he can't go any lower, he digs a hole. However, we must always bear in mind that we have the mind power and the speech power to change the situation. Instead of thinking about him leaving, let's get dancing the victory dance for Biden and Harris winning. Let's envision and visualize them going into the White House, and how we'll be dancing in the streets and just in high praise, and just the hope that we have had in terms of moving this country forward in a more positive manner, a more healing manner, that is the beginning. Because just because they get in office doesn't mean that we sit back and sit on our asses. No, baby, it's time to get up and really pour on the gas, and not only hold Biden and Harris and their administration accountable, but to do whatever we can to heal our neighborhoods, heal our communities, heal our cities. One of the things that we will be discussing on Saturday night will be the Black Lives Matter, because I think it helps people who don't understand the importance of what I call the Civil Rights Movement 2.0 to get it from Black people to sit with us and allow us to share our experiences and the experiences of those who have gone before us in this country, and why the term Black Lives Matters is so important. This is not to hurt anybody's feelings. This is not to vilify white folks. This is not to do anything except bring some understanding, because if we can get some understanding, if we can look at each other as fellow human beings, for crying out loud, when we can look at each one as part of the brotherhood of humankind, things will absolutely get better. We'll be speaking on revisionist history, the history that we were taught in school, in which only gave slavery a one-line thing. I remember I've always been a bit, not a bit different. I was a whole lot different. And I have always been, some would say, a bit eccentric. I don't know. It's my norm. I remember when I was going to school, high school, it might have been grade school or so. we would all get excited when they would have movie day. And there was, I don't know what this movie was about. I can't remember the reason it was there, but there was a scene within this movie where there were Africans dancing and the beat drummers were going with it, you know. And there were only 2 Black students in the class, myself and another Black guy. He held his head in shame while I was grooving with the drums. You know, I thought it was a beautiful thing. I still do. However, it was to see those kinds of images, even among Black people, sometimes was not a thing that they held with pride. It was almost as if they wanted to separate themselves from that. And the real deal is we cannot. We cannot separate ourselves from it. Why would we want to separate ourselves from it? The continent is full of beauty and lushness in spite of all the warring and all of what we see as being impoverished. Let me tell you something. When I lived in Hawaii for many years, and I spoke to the elites who were royalty, the descendants of the kings and queens in Hawaii, we had a discussion on what was considered wealth. And I was told that to them, to be surrounded by a lot of people who loved you and served you. That was the most important thing about being a royalty, that you had devoted people who loved you and who served you. So to have lands where you could have fruit and things coming from the earth, to have cattle, to have these kinds of things, that represented, and in many cultures represents, wealth. When we are shown pictures of the continent, we're always shown the most impoverished, or what we would consider to be impoverished. Perhaps it's a reality. Parts that we're never taken to the cities because, I mean, there are actually Africans who are very, very wealthy, who live lush lives. You know, the one thing I hope is that at some point they would share with their people. However, it's not all, for instance, in Kenya, it's such a lush and beautiful place. How can you call it impoverished? And my thought is, if there was abject poverty there, why are the colonizers there? Colonizers from the Dutch, the British, the French, all of them, they don't go where there's nothing for them to gain. They don't go to countries where there's nothing they can't dig out of the ground or suck out of the ground. Or there is a great deal of wealth there, and that's why they are there, whether it's oil or precious jewels or precious metals. All of it is within that very rich soil that we call the continent. All right, it looks like some people are talking about Trump. Oh, as Lama Bryan says, Trump Justice Department has convened a grand jury to investigate classified info revealed in John Bolton's book. Well, you know what? I'm having a difficult time actually feeling anything for Bolton. He's a vile little man. He looks like he needs to get a good haircut and do something with that mustache. He is as mean-spirited as Trump. And he might not have said anything about the room where it happened had it not been for Trump calling him stupid or something like that. He called him some name. And of course, since he thinks he's one of the smartest people in the room, he couldn't bear hearing from someone he knew was an idiot calling him one. So we'll see what happens with him. We will see what happens with him. Oh, there are lots of great books that have been written this month that are just dropping. Peter Strzok's book. That's a book I'm interested in, even though he probably isn't free to reveal what he really knows. But for those of you who don't know who Peter Strzok is, there was a series on called The American. And that series was about some Russians who have infiltrated this country and were doing what they do. Peter Strzok is the one who headed that investigation and busted them. So this is a man that we need to listen to. Peter Strzok, baby. And Michael Bolton. Okay. I haven't read the whole book. He may just be revealing things we already know about him. But I'm hoping that there's some tidbits, some juiciness in there. I had hoped that DDM over at Secretary of Shade, who is known to read books, would read Michael Bolton's book, but he just simply said he didn't think he wanted to read another Trump book. After he got a cease and desist reading Mary Trump's book. And if you haven't gone to his YouTube channel, he's a very, very intelligent, young man who researches his subjects. He doesn't come on just not locked and loaded with information. But his reading of books just tickle me. Tommy Bolton. That was Johnny's name for John Bolton. What's that child's name? I did know that DDM said he wasn't going to be reading any more of the books. Is it Tres Leche Love? I did know that I saw his last post. I do think that I'd also like to read the book written about the reptile known as the First Lady, as Melania, because that woman was her friend, I would think, when she was just getting into the scene or something. I'd like, we probably know less about her than we know about her husband. I feel like this book, hey, Cappy's mom, I feel like this book will be pretty interesting. And when I see her, I just see like, a Komodo dragon or something like long and slithering and poisonous. I just don't see her as a loving human being. I know she loves her son, but that's what we would expect. I mean, all mothers in the animal kingdom love their children, so we wouldn't expect any less. But there's something about her that is, to me, just absolutely cold. And she may have had a friend in this woman whose name I don't recall. But her friend's book, when I've heard her interviewed, she sounds like it's a combination of being hurt and feeling betrayed, as well as letting people know that this is what the dealio is. Yeah. Claudia Cooper says Michael Cohen's book is fire. So I'll have to trot on over to the Kindle site and purchase that. And yes, it's P.A.G. Badnia. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Baron. Well, excuse me. A lot of women who marry wealthy men, who marry men that hold promise, who marry men who are superstars, who marry men who are sports stars, marry them, and they get pregnant and they squeeze out a baby right quick because they know, or at least they hope, that by doing so, that will ensure that some money will come from them, from the fathers, after they may have moved on to some other woman or other man. We don't know. Speaking of men, Andrew Gillum. All right, there's a YouTuber who says that he knew Andrew's T. Actually, he said that he and Matt Gaetz were actually they were friends, and that this is a black man that he and Gaetz had gone to school together, and he or Getz, I have his name is pronounced, and that he had put out a video about the scene that was found in that room where Gillum was photographed with the pills. Yeah, it was Funky Dineva. Okay, so you watch his channel too. He felt badly that Getz probably used that video to laugh at Andrew Gillum, but Getz needs to be careful himself, because in the spirit, I see his son is, well, yeah, he's not your son, okay? So, he had his, Johnny was speaking about his interview with Tamron Hall. And some weren't, you know, there are many people who, well, not many. I've only heard one or two who weren't satisfied with him and what he spoke of. First of all, we got to remember that Andrew Gillum has done a lot of good through foundations and his ability to secure money and help his community and others. He's done great work. So we can't forget that he's done great work just because he was busted doing his thing. And yes, I would wonder if his wife knew he was bisexual when they married, if she knew that he, or even gave any thought that he might be dealing with men, and particularly in this situation where we know exactly what he was going in that room to do, and that was a party and have sex. You know, that was what this whole escort thing was about. Now, the one thing I don't believe, because all of the, you know, here's the thing, I don't think that all of those pills and all the drugs and stuff that were provided, I don't think for 1 minute Gillum took those drugs, or that those drugs were there for him. That is not how Black folks roll. If we want some pills, we might go get 2, 3, 4, 5. We're not going to get 80 or 90 pills. Well, maybe now if they're dealing, but in terms of just recreation, nah, that's not something that we indulge in. There were things about that scene that looked terribly staged. And what I have to say is, from some reading that I've done and some research that I've done, and from what I understand that is currently being investigated, is that this was a setup. Now, granted, he walked his ass up in there ready, but that the whole thing was planned so that he would be caught in a situation like that, because prior to that event, he had responded to something Rick Scott, Skeletor is what I call him. That man does not, oh, Jesus. I just look at him and it just looks like bones. You know, Skeletor, from anybody who's familiar with He-Man, all that's missing is a black cape. They had been going back and forth on Twitter. And Gillum is extremely bright. He's quick. He knows what he's talking about. And it got a little heated. And I really think that it was then that somebody said, we got to shut this, using the N-word, got to shut him up. So that's when this happened. Now, back to the interview. I haven't seen the whole thing. He admitted to being bisexual. Funky seems to think that bisexual people don't exist, or that they're confused, or that they're somehow being bisexual because it's a safe place to be. It's perfectly normal, I would think. If we're born of a man and a woman, and we could naturally be attracted to a man and a woman. I don't think bisexuality is a safe zone. I think it's for people who enjoy the company and the gifts of both sexes. it may be difficult for someone who's gay to accept that, because they say they know who they are, they're comfortable with who they are, and bully for you. However, I know that there are people, being a functioning voluptuary myself, I know that there are people that can enjoy the company of both sexes. It's just life. So I don't get on him or even hold that. I mean, that's not a big deal to me. It's just, I do wonder if his wife knew going into the marriage that he was bisexual. I do wonder how, since all of this has happened, how they're handling it. And I do pray for them. I do pray for that family, because they are a family with children. And I do pray that they can get this behind them and that they can move on. We sure do spend a whole bunch of time wanting to stoke the flames and the coals of somebody else's misery. We want to point fingers and somehow make what they're doing so bad. My mother always told me, when you point one finger, you have what? 3 coming back at you. What are you doing? That would say to me, you have enough of your own business. You have enough of your own stuff to handle. You have enough than to spend your time, beating up on somebody else's stuff. Johnny says it's only a big deal when you cheat and then your wife didn't know you like peeing. Oh, well, I'm just wondering how she would be part of that whole FAMU Florida State situation and not know his tea, because according to Funky Dineva, it was not a secret. That's takes me back to an original thought, and that is, there are people who marry folks with hope. Now, when I went to college, when I was attending, all I could think about was how I was going to be great on my own. And it was amazing to me that I met so many women who attend college because they're looking for a man with potential. See, you're looking for yourself a lawyer, doctor. Oh, doctors. Yeah, the girls went strong after the doctors. Engineers, architects, people who had held promise that at some point in life they would succeed at what they were doing and they could live beautiful lives, comfortable lives, devoting themselves to public service, and that thought never crossed my mind. I never thought about having a man secure my future as much as I always felt that I could do it myself, so that whatever relationship I would come into, it wouldn't be because of what they had to offer me. It was because I can come with some gifts and some stuff too, and that I am as much a prize as they think they are. But there are women who marry these men knowing all of their shortcomings. They know this stuff. That girl came. I will never think that she did not know about him. However, he showed great promise. He obviously loved her, or loved her enough to marry her. They have children. So now your stuff has been exposed, and it was exposed in the most heinous way. Most heinous way. So we send them blessings and we send them some love. High five, Paces. I do want to say that I'm glad. I was kind of concerned about the state of Wisconsin, because at one point it looked as if they were going to make it not possible for them to count the absentee ballots that had already been cast and have to send out new ones. But see what high thinking, see what infinite wisdom, see what the Spirit, God will do. That decision was turned around. we can't be surprised by what this man is going to do. We can't be angry about it. If you're going to be angry about it, then put your anger to use. Do something. Go out and walk your neighborhood to make sure that people are voting or registered to vote, even without asking them how they're going to vote. Confirm that they are registered to vote. Ask them if they have any way to get to the polls. This is the time for us to jump in. You know, this country was formed by we the people, not by Donald Trump and that boy he calls his son-in-law. Excuse me, digging in my nose, but it's today the weather is overcast. We're getting some of that hurricane weather here. It's very windy and overcast and cool for once. It's been pretty hot. Yeah, Jared Kushner, in spite of all they come out to say and how they try to put a spin on the fact that he called Bob Woodward more often than not to chat about himself. I'm gonna tell you something. Somebody should have told him, look, do you know that Bob Woodward and Bernstein broke the Watergate case? I mean, what makes you think you're gonna call this man who's written these great books, and especially the Watergate one, and then think that you're gonna somehow charm him and speak to him and and you're being recorded, their transcripts. I mean, this guy is really so full of himself. Today, I noticed that he's doing something with the UAE and Israel. Well, that whole thing, in my spirit, I feel that $800 billion of weaponry that Pompeo got to the United Arab Emirates without the knowledge of Congress, that the reason this it's not a peace deal. They didn't say they were at peace. They just signed and stuff. And the UAE wants access to that weaponry, and Israel is the one that's gotten it. So I feel like it's just a backdoor way for them to get weaponry from Israel. And now Daddy is once again talking about a Nobel Peace Prize. If the Nobel Peace Prize people are listening, please don't even throw his name in a hat, because the Nobel Peace Prizes would become doo-doo, just like our Medal of Honor that Rush Limbaugh received because he's dying. Speaking of Rush, man, oh man, he has cancer eating up his lungs, eating up his airway. And he doesn't seem to get that hatred and that vitriol and those lies that he tells are contributing to the destruction of his lungs. Now, the one thing that he called Kamala a hoe. You know, Black women have been called hoes, bitches. Our own men in their music have called us hoes and bitches. You know, we'll deal with them. But for a white man to call a sister a hoe, you see, that's when we're going to get into Wakanda forever and pick up the spears and go stick your ass multiple times. Now, we know the reptile, we know how she got where she got, don't we? She didn't get, they had to create a resume for her because she didn't have one. Well, you know, she gives good blowjobs, and when I'm in the rack, she beats me real good, you know. She does S&M B&D real well. We've seen her naked ass all over the internet. and you want to call Kamala Harris a hoe because when she was in the state of California, she dealt with Willie Brown, who at that time was a very powerful man within the state of California. But Willie is bitter. He even suggested that if she were offered a vice presidential nomination or offered the gig, that she should say no. So we're gonna pray for Willie too. Don't be mad, baby. Don't hate the player, hate the game. So that's what I have to say about Limbaugh when he was given that, what is the Medal of Freedom or something? I wonder what the other recipients, including Joe Biden, did with theirs. If they look at it and say, really? He's giving it to someone who lies for him every day, who goes on and talks that bullshit about what the Black Lives Matter thing, what Barr coming up talking about is a Bolshevik movement. Speaking of his stinking ass. I would really, I see that he's an ill man. Like physically, he's not well at all. You can probably, that's no secret. You can kind of look at him and see, and he doesn't smile. I mean, he's always looking like his balls are caught up in his ball snatcher as he walks. Like he's got that ring around and it's tight. Can you believe that he thinks taxpayers are going to pay money to defend Donald Trump against E. Jean Carroll? I mean, does he really think that that's something we're going to do? My God. He's going to try it, though, because I think what has happened is that all the legal bills that the RNC was paying and everybody was paying and all them donations and stuff, I think they just gotten overwhelmed with cases and they just say, we ain't got no more money, son. We can't continue to do this. So the DOJ is going to step in to protect him against a rape charge. I think what's going to happen is E. Jean Carroll, now that she's shown some courage going after that DNA, that some other chicks are going to come forward too. Yeah, that's what I think. I don't think she'll be standing alone in this, but to think we're going to foot the bill for that is utterly ridiculous. Now, he can try it. He can go to court and he'll get struck down. And then what does Trump do? They appeal and appeal and appeal and appeal up to the Supreme Court, running out the clock. But, I got a word for Daddy. Baby, the horses have bolted, and when your ass is walked out of there, whether in a straitjacket, handcuffs, however, kicking and screaming, however they have to get your ass out of there, that's when the games begin. Because you will be held accountable for every bit of pain and suffering and evil deed that you've done. No one. It's not even about man's law. No one can inflict the kind of damage that you have and think that life is going to be grand. No, you and the ghouls. Ivanka and Jared. Oh, Eric is in town today. Oh my God, the smart one. He's in town with doing something for his daddy, some kind of fundraising. He's probably here on behalf of Sonny Perdue. I'm voting for John Ossoff. He's a smart young man. He could have had Karen Handel's seat had he not been cheated out of it by calling for a runoff. I'm voting for Ossoff. And the more they try to make him look like he's some kind of snake, we're looking at you, Perdue, David, when the only people that can speak up for you are your sister and two retired people whose money ain't gonna never be affected by what you've been doing. Shut the fuck up. You're a dirty bastard. You got wealthy on the pain of the people? Shut the fuck up. You and Kelly Loeffler, who's out here with giraffe neck Tom Cotton and our lovely bootlicker governor, Brian Kemp, attempting to make her look like she's an honest woman. She need to sit her ass down too. I'm voting for Raphael Warnock. So tomorrow and some days coming, I'm out doing some polling. We'll be doing what I suggested, just checking to see who's registered, and we're making plans to get people to the polls and making sure the polls are ready for the lines that I'm sure we will experience here in Georgia. I've said on several chats that I stood in line from 5 p.m. until 12:30 a.m. In the primaries on June 8th, and I will do it again. I will do it again. And that was early voting. Now, our rat bastard Secretary of State Ratzenberger, isn't that appropriate? He claims that there are 1,000 people, I'm wondering where he got that number, who have voted twice. Now, if they're Republicans, they did what their president said to do. Yeah, get a ballot, stick it in the mail, then go stand in line. Wouldn't that be poetic justice if they found that all the people who voted twice were Republicans? Wouldn't that be great? Oh my God, that would be wonderful. So anyway, I wonder how he got that random number. He's talking about prosecuting. He's also in on the gerrymandering and the voter suppression here in the state, because they also found that there were other names purged from the rolls. I mean, it's just a whole lot of stuff. But here's what I know. I know that there is a determination in the air. There is a determination that is coming from all of us that is like the fuel, the engine that can get this thing done. I said earlier that if you're angry, then put your anger to good use, because anger is a wonderful motivator. You know, when I get angry enough about something, I'll be about doing something. So if you're angry, get out and do something as we come upon this election time. I'm going to be signing off very soon, and I really do thank Johnny and Adrian, and want to thank my moderators, Larry Girl, Charles Apprentice, Red Lentil Healing, for hanging out with me. I want to thank all of you who came from Johnny's live over to mine. Yeah, this is fun. Perhaps, you know, I'll talk a little bit more about myself, and inform you about what the Venus Revolution actually is, why it exists. But I want to sign off by saying, whatever thoughts are lovely and beautiful and happy and bring you some kind of joy, hang on to those feelings. Think on those things. Step away from the television, because we know that there is nothing that he won't do every day. He's like a kid. He doesn't care what kind of attention he gets, as long as it's attention. So he's doing things just to get attention. Step away from the television. I went out for a walk, and then I took my shoes off and walked in the grass today. Go out and enjoy the beauty and the abundance of the Creator's heavens and the earth. And whatever you do, I want you to stay as close to sweet love as you can. I hope everyone has a great evening. I don't know who's going live. I'll be looking to get some notifications. And I'm seeing Sharon Green say evil will not. It's not that it must not, evil will not prevail. And the reason it won't prevail is because we're shooting everybody on here is a light bearer. In St. John, the first chapter, it speaks of God not only breathing his spirit, his life into us, he breathes his light into us. So we are on a holy mission. We are light bearers. I want lights to shine brightly. Don't dim them. I'm going to turn the dimmer down a little bit if you're feeling a little, because I know that we all feel that way. I felt that way. I have certain things that I do to pull myself up. And the one thing I do is that I'm going to always trust in the beautiful, unseen, the faith. I'm not going to lean to my own understanding or fall victim. And that's, for lack of a better word, of what I see with my natural eye. I'm going to keep my head in heavenly places, even through tears. That's where everything comes from anyway. So y'all go forth, enjoy today. Go forth, enjoy this little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. Let your light shine today. You'll be surprised. Somebody might need to see that. Somebody might need a kind word. And Johnny, we're going to talk about Black church, child. We have to talk about the events in our church, because we go for truly making a joyful noise. We don't do quiet too well, not in Baptist and Pentecostal churches. All right, babies. I'll see you the next time. Oh, and Saturday, 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. That's Saturday the 19th. Johnny at Tarot's Apprentice, Adrian Coleman from Red Lentil Healing. We'll be having our second petty party. If you have any questions or any topics that you'd like to discuss, by all means, I guess I have a community tab now. You can certainly put them in there. Yeah, we'll be discussing them, and we try to do so. We do our best to do so with some humor, because some days ain't shit funny. Take care, everyone. Thank you. See you Saturday.